Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, we're coming here, of course, as always. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys are the best audience in the world. I can never tell you that often enough. And we certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to watch for all the new episodes we're doing on the Chris Voss Show, because guess what? Next week is CES show, the Consumer Electronics Show. Oh, my God. We even have the CEO, Gary Shapiro, announcing his new book on the show. And of course, we interviewed him. So be sure to check out those wares as well. Over this next week, you're going to see us interviewing interesting entrepreneurs from CES. We're going to be talking about some of the products and stuff that they're doing at CES show. And of course, you're going to see live video of us touring the site, doing video interviews of people there. Crap, we're probably going to have enough material to last us a whole nother year of podcast. We may have to rename the Chris Voss Show the CES Show. But as always, you guys have been following me for years and know what goes in this. Be sure to refer the show to your friends, neighbors, relatives. Get them to go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification button so they can get all notifications, because we're going to be posting all the CES stuff up there, and you're going to want to see the latest and greatest and coolest new technology. On top of that, have them go to Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and iHeartRadio, where you can see the distribution of all the different variations of the Chris Voss Show podcast today. And we certainly appreciate it. And if you can, give it a review. We certainly like that as well. Today we have the first interesting guest from CES. I suppose Gary was, but he runs it, so that's not really, doesn't count. So we have the first person who's at CES presenting and has a booth there. And his name is, let me make sure I get this right, Nick Hill. Nick, how you doing today, bud?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good. I was flipped over to the screen that shows us your guys' company is Sure Pet Care, and you guys' booth is 42367. You're going to be at the Sands Convention Center during the show. Welcome to the Chris Voss Show, and tell us about your company. Give us the plug on what website to look up for that.
Okay, so website, first and foremost, surepetcare.com. Easy. So the company does technology-based pet products that really solve a problem. And what we're launching is a particular new activity monitor for dogs. And I can tell you all about that and how that is going to help you and your dog. And then also we do a whole suite of products which work off the pet's microchip. So any pet that is microchipped, then it's a unique identifier that identifies that unique pet. And so we have products that allow access to a home. We have products that separate feeding. So if you have multiple pets in one household, you can identify and feed them. And then we have a whole suite of products which also give you information for monitoring your pet on an app as well. So you can tell how much your pet's feeding, whether they're coming in and out. And if we get disturbed during this podcast, it's because my cat's gone through the cat door at home. My phone might be out.
So your cat's going to rule your life, or your pet or animal, I guess, because you guys are doing pet doors and dog doors. But first, let's talk about you, Nick. You're the CEO and I believe the president of the company. How did you get started in this? What's the journey that you made here?
Okay, so my background is I originally trained as a physicist. So quantum physicist, Dr. Nick Hill, that's been used a lot. So I studied in Cambridge in the UK. And that is the high-tech sort of hub for the UK. You know, originally I was all set on going down the academic route, but then caught the startup bug, worked in the startup sort of area around Cambridge for about 10 years, and then really started with a product idea. And so for me, the product idea was born purely out of need, which was I had a cat door, and I had the whole neighborhood cats all coming in through the cat door, eating my cat's food, urinating in the kitchen. It's just, it's a real problem. So I set about developing our very first product, which was a global success, which is the microchip cat door.
And this is a great story, because this is what a lot of entrepreneurs do. We, of course, cover a lot of entrepreneurism here on the Chris Voss Show and interview a lot of entrepreneurs. And this is the journey many of them take. They have a pain or an itch or some sort of thing that they need to have resolved. And they can't find a product or something out in the marketplace to resolve. And so that's interesting. It took your journey of your cats having strange other cats wander in through the cat door, eat your food, pee on your carpet. I mean, for me, I call that Wednesdays. or the weekends, but that's, you know, my neighbors finally got a restraining order that I can't do that anymore. But that's awesome that you guys have that sort of thing, because I got to tell you, I've had dogs and I've had a lot of issues with pet doors and other things coming in the house, creepy crawlies, of course, as well. The spiders and the bugs, they love the pet door because they're like, hey, this thing's halfway open half the time with the wind, you know. So this is really cool. I've taken a look at your guys' website and seen the products you guys are making, and we're going to, of course, see it at CES show. You guys want to check out their booth while you're there. So tell us more about it, or what the journey was that got you there and got the company started, and where you're at now.
Okay, so going back to the start of it, then it's really that one problem I'm looking to solve, which is other cats coming in. No, in the UK, less creepy crawlies or snakes or anything, but we've had all sorts. And then I wasn't the first person to have the product idea. So the idea of identifying a pet through the microchip implant. But then the microchip implants they're about the size of a grain of rice. They're designed to be injected under the skin. So they were never really designed to have a long read range to operate other products. So then it became like a technical challenge, which is create a reading technology that allows you to create a consumer product with the right read range to actually deliver a service based on the pet's identification microchip. So that was where my technical background came in, which is on the physics, the antennas, the electronics, all of these sides. So really, it was a product idea, an interesting technical challenge, and then creating a winning product. So
the thing you bring up too is a lot of people don't understand that sometimes becoming a great entrepreneur is preparing for it, and sometimes you don't know that you prepared for it. Like in your case, you probably didn't go to school going, I'm going to make a pet door company someday.
I can tell you, I never thought. No, quite
part of the genesis of what you've created and what you've designed is from the concept that you had that this is possible technically, and I probably know how to do it, or maybe I have enough skill to be dangerous, or education to be dangerous in the field. And you asked, it comes down to that question of, well, why can't it be built that way? And so many people, I think in this world, they just accept things as they come. And the beauty of entrepreneurs is entrepreneurs go, why not? Some people ask why. Entrepreneurs go, why not? Why can't we have that? Why can't we have, X, Y, Z? Why can't we create this? And that's how our world just gets better and better, which is good for people like you folks and us, actually, the consumers.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think you hit the nail on the head where I think you prepare to take your own luck. Now, but for me, when I see other people perhaps just leaving school and then going straight into becoming an entrepreneur and creating a business and being successful, I'm always in awe of that. I certainly wasn't ready to do that. But about 10 years working in high tech, learning about intellectual property, learning about how you would actually create a business. For me, that was like an important first step. And then to take that next step, then I think you're more likely to take the right chances and more likely to succeed, at least in my case.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up very poor. I didn't go to college, but I knew I needed to learn how to be a CEO if I ever wanted to run a big company someday, and I dreamed of doing it. And so I read every book I could consume. I basically got my own sort of MBA. I actually studied programs and projects from the Harvard Business Review, which back in the day, you'd buy the Harvard Business Review book, and it was just filled with all this just really core, raw theory of business. And so I would consume all that and basically kind of give myself my own college course. I just skipped all the late night drinking fraternities and all that sort of stuff, which I'm not sure was the smartest turn on my part, because I don't know, Bill Kavanaugh, who just won a judgeship here, tells me the beer is really good, and so are fraternity parties. But at least I know I'll probably be able to become Supreme Court justice without someone questioning my fraternity drinking. So I don't know.
That's your next step, is it?
That's the next step. It's from here to the Supreme Court. What did you know? I'll be on the panel with the congressional thing, and they'll be like, says here your experiences are running a podcast and being a social media person. What makes you qualify for this job? I like beer. There you go. So you came with this idea, and so did you create a company with it initially, or where did you go with your idea? What was the steps you took?
Yeah, so it was basically creating a product and creating a company, and really starting small but growing organically.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a product that was it was hard enough so there wasn't a competitor out there, and there wasn't a competitor out there for quite a while. So it was a good competitive landscape, at least in the form we created it. And then it was really choosing your customers so that you can grow that company, given the cash flow and all the requirements around that. But there was very, very high demand for the product. So on the back of that, it allowed us to reinvest in a suite of products, which started off with different pet dog products, then moved into feeders, and then moved into internet connected and app connected sort of products as well. And then that really was the company that I built. And then back in 2015, we were acquired by a much larger company that brought even more technology to bear. So then allowed us to scale more and actually then bring some of our latest products like the Animo sort of behavior monitor actually out. So that's the more recent thing. And that's part of that process of being acquired and then having more resources and more technologies that you can draw from.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the journey is you've been acquired by the bigger companies and they've seen the forefront of your technology. I love these app things that allow me to interact with my animals, my pets. I've got 2 huskies, and I've got different things that we've sent to be reviewed here on the Chris Voss Show, where I can watch them, of course, on all the different monitors as they roam around the house and chew everything that I own while I travel. Back to CS, I'll be checking in like about 20 times a day to see what they're doing on cameras and to see how much of my stuff is being shredded into small pieces since I've left for the day.
But you're not alone in this. You're really part of the global community that now a pet is a member of your family. You want to be in touch with them all day. You can't be with them 24/7.
And they're huskies, so I kind of have to be in touch with them all day because, like I say, when I travel, I'll never forget years ago I went to CES show and I had a kind of a younger puppy and an older puppy, and I thought, well, it's going to be okay to leave them. And to my horror, about the second day into my trip, I was tuning in to see what was shredded, and my dog was somehow aware of the scope of area that my camera operated in, because she was making a point of putting it right in the middle and shredding it into small pieces, whatever it was, and just basically sending me that message. And then I would tune in to hear her crying and baying both in the backyard and wandering through the house, wondering where I was, so it was about 2 days of like a horror show. Like, I think that's going to be the next movie I'm gonna do. I haven't done a movie, but I think that should be like a Bird Box horror show is really popular. I think that's going to be what the new show is. It's going to be a guy who's in a hotel room in a faraway city watching his dog shred every loving thing that he has to punish him for leaving for 4 days on a business trip. And if you could think of a product to make out of that, with along the line you're doing, you might want to send me a few bucks. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I mean, that would be the new horror show. Oh, you're in your hotel room. You're like tuning in. The music comes up, the suspense, and you're tuning in, going, what are they going to shred now? But the beautiful part about your product is you don't have to tune in and find out some other cat or dog or snakes or birds or some other thing. It's like squirrels, have snuck into your home and they're like eating your cat food and everything else you have on the counter, because raccoons and stuff, they can get up on stuff.
Oh, raccoons! We've had fun with raccoons. So they're a tricky old animal. They've got opposable thumbs. So many others, and then they're very dexterous. So
just don't advance this product to the next level, where you attach this to fridges and people like me, because my girlfriend will probably put me on one to where I can't get into the fridge and stuff. So tell
we get people saying, "Can you chip my teenage son?" You know. So
there you go. Can you chip a teenager? Can you chip my? I'm sure she'll chip me. I want to know what bar was he at? Who was he with at that time? Where has he been? He told me he didn't want to meet with my parents and that he broke his leg in the ER. Where I want to see proof of the geolocation. So tell us more about your guys' product and what it does.
So when you consider, what you can do with products like, say, a microchip operated cat door where it started, and then a microchip operated feeder, which was our next range of products. So a lot of people have pets in a multi-pet household, and if you've got two cats, you've often got, say, one fat cat, one thin cat. Fat cat eats your food, or you've got two cats on medicated diet, or even as simple as a dog eating the cat food. So segregating delivery of food to a pet is a really important thing, but especially when you're thinking about sort of custom diets. So our feeder was our next range of products, and that again was a product that solves a problem. And this is what we hear from our customers all the time: is your products they solve a problem, and now suddenly I can't live without them. And I never thought a pet feeder would change my life, but they're really, once you solve that problem, that's what drives success, and really what drives your customers' happiness, which ultimately is our goal of pets' happiness and our customers' happiness.
Yeah, now, it's interesting. People tell me, I want to be an entrepreneur so I can get rich. And you're like, well, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'm just going to get rich. And you're like, well, you have to understand the sequence of how being an entrepreneur works. You usually, like I said, start with your pain. You solve your pain, and then you realize that there's a million other people who have cats or dogs and they have this problem too. And you're like, well, maybe they would like this idea that I have. And you share that with them. And, really being a great entrepreneur is coming up with a service or product that helps other people. And the direct correlation of what you're paid back in is in usually direct relation to the need or demand for that service and the scarcity of it. So if you're first to market, et cetera, et cetera. So you guys start with these your main product, right, is a door, a cat door, or pet door for the animals. You make it for pets. Do you make it for dogs yet, or just cats right now?
So small dogs, spaniel size, but not the larger dogs yet.
So I'm not going to be able to crawl through one yet?
Not yet, no, I'm afraid.
That's probably in research and development, I'm sure. And do they, when you say the microchip allows them to come in and out, I've seen ones where they wear like a little bell on their collar, and I'm like, well, if I really want to rob someone's house, I just take the collar off and wave it and send someone in to open the door and get me a skinny accomplice. And wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I'm in the house robbing it, and thanks to Fluffy, you're now light on all your jewelry. And so I've always wondered about those products. I'm like, somebody could just take the thing off and just go through the door. With a microchip, does it have to be your microchip, or do you work with all the microchips that are on the market?
So it works with all the microchips that are on the market.
That is freaking awesome. That is awesome. Because I was like, oh man, so if I get your product, I might have to go. That is awesome that you've got it to where it works for them. Is that a real big pain I don't want to say pain, but is that a real big challenge to work with, all these different makers of some of these different chips and get to get the code right?
So, I mean, there's a global standard for microchips. But historically, there's been 4 different types of microchips in the US. So actually, this global standard basically took the rest of the world first, and there was still a number of different formats that were vying for supremacy in the US. So really, we still needed to make it work for all of these 4 different types of microchip. So it took a little bit longer, but to say it's an absolute requirement. You've got to be awesome. You've got to know that you buy the product. The setup is easy. You press a button. It then learns your pet's ID code. Doesn't matter what type of microchip it is, and then there's no confusion. Otherwise, you're into checking the number with your vet or with your microchip provider, and it takes away from that ease, which is critical, I think, to its success of anything.
And so the dog or cat can just come right up to the door. It senses their microchip and walks in. And there's people doing this to themselves. They're putting chips and NFIDs into their bodies. They're body hacking their systems. So you may have a future business that, like I say, letting people into their fridges if they're on a diet. Like, don't let me have food between 8 and 5 or whatever, or maybe there's a segment of the fridge that has all the high fat, high fructose, the Coke, and the pizza is in this pizza section. You can't get in there unless you're waving your hand in front of it. Let me in. I'm really hungry.
Yeah, I've not fit myself. Maybe in the future, I don't know. Never say never.
There's definitely a thing for that. I know there's probably some wives that would buy that product for their husbands. Put a collar on them, make sure that, anyway.
The fun bit is the next stage beyond. So I guess the first set of products was very much find a problem, solve it, standalone product that actually solves that problem. But then the next stage, which is where so many of the cool new consumer products are coming from, is connectivity. Yeah. And connectivity with pet care is a really, really great application of Internet of Things. It's not a gadget, it's a really important application where you can help and care for your pet better when you're not there and you can monitor it. So I think this was our sort of key next stage of the business, which was, okay, well, actually, it's not just doing one thing which improves the life of the pet in one way. It's a monitoring tool for the pet. Now, one thing you may not be aware of is that some microchips also have the ability to take the temperature of the pet.
Oh my gosh.
So they've got a built-in thermometer. So every time you take a reading of a pet's microchip number, you get the temperature for free. So actually, every time a pet is feeding from a microchip-operated pet feeder, you can have a real-time measure of what the temperature of that pet is. And that's then a health monitoring tool. So really what started life as being, okay, I want to stop other cats coming into my house for peeing in the kitchen, has actually come full circle to these are tools to monitor a pet's life, and in some cases actually to monitor the physiological well-being of the pet, which is its temperature over time.
Yeah, especially if they're hot or overheated. This has been a great product to have. I had a dog that had cancer, and we put her through hospice care for about 1.5 years, and monitoring her activity and movements. I think we put some sort of IoT device that was on her collar that I could monitor her exercise and how often she was moving around. And that was kind of real important. Knowing when she was up and moving was usually a time I wanted to check on her, even if I was asleep, because sometimes at the very end we'd have blood. You needed to know what was going on with her, and why she was moving around, because she was pretty old, and so you just needed to check on her and know what's going. So it's cool that they have this technology that's out there. Temperature would have been a thing we would have wanted to know. She was in hospice care as well. And people love checking in on these. I mean, when I go out, even like to the store, I check my pet cam monitors. I think we've got a feeder here that flicks treats. Their grandmother dials in and flicks treats at them. And so having these feeder type things are really important. I know cat owners are known for having sometimes that big fat cat that they got to put on a diet. And you just can't be home a lot. But if you're a pet owner, you're obsessed with your pet. At least I hope you are. But most pet owners I know, they're constantly checking in. Here's my pet today. In fact, I've gone places and said, look, here's what my dog's doing. And people are just like, you're weird.
But this is a global trend. And this is like,
yeah, but you can. I mean, it used to, you could never check to see what was going on at home. Sometimes I've had to call a neighbor or friend or say, hey, can you run over my house? The things are going off the rails over there. It's because I can tune in and see what's going on with my pet. And, we live in Las Vegas too. So we got to make sure the pets don't get locked outside or stuck outside.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they can die in the heat during the summer. A lot of pets die because they get left in the backyard and they can't get in. And so these pet doors are just so important for people to have to get them in and out.
Yeah, no, I think the level of care for pets over the last 10, 15 years. You know, the humanization of pets. Now, if you ask people, is a pet a member of your family? You will get the answer, most definitely yes. Now, going back 15, 20 years, you know, you wouldn't get that same answer. People talk about being pet owners then rather than pet parents now. So yeah, it's a global trend, this, and you know, it's really just driven by our love of the animals and wanting the best for them.
Well, I often say the more I watch politics and the more I get to know people, the more I love my dogs. So, so I'm becoming one of those. I'm a dog person. In fact, if you look closely enough, I'm covered in husky hair, which is part of the whole.
Yeah, if you wear black, it'll show more. So.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is this is one of the reasons I wear a white hat. People are like, is that an advertisement on the hat? I'm like, no, it's just white, and so you can't see the dog hair from the huskies on it. That's why I like this hat. But you know, it's really cool that you guys are making these different products out there, and I imagine the world is the thing. Being able to play with dogs, being able to feed your pets, being able to have them come in and out. I've had a pet door for years, but it's always been kind of one of those jukey ones that you just put into the sliding glass and you slide it, and they're like, oh yeah, you can make it. You know, I got a little door dolly that holds it shut, but anybody can crawl through this thing because it's a pretty large door given I have large huskies. And I look at it all the time. I'm like, it doesn't take much for someone to crawl through that door. And then with my door, it's just the cheap one that isn't your guys's, obviously. And so when the wind blows, it flaps. And so the problem I'm having right now is my house is freezing from the wind here in Vegas blowing the cold air in, and I'm having my heater bills going through the roof now. So there is an economy here of saving money, cutting cost and saving costs, because with your guys' door, it's probably not flapping in the wind, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, for what I'm going to pay for your product is probably the amount I'm going to pay double or triple for the energy costs of heating and cooling with this door constantly flapping in the wind. I'm definitely looking forward to reviewing this on the Chris Voss Show.
Excellent. And we're really excited about now the next stage of the products that we're launching, which is really around activity monitoring and behavior monitoring for dogs. So a wearable for dogs. And this has come from, I guess, the next stage of development of the company, where in 2015 we were acquired by a company called Antelic, which is the leader in animal monitoring, but we're very much with a focus originally on livestock. So the activity monitoring technology that we've applied has actually come from the dairy industry, from dairy cows, and through activity monitoring of dairy cows, and this has been on millions of dairy cows. This is through activity monitoring of dairy cows and detection of rumination, of heat stress, of a whole load of different parameters that are actually around health and well-being. Then it's really been one of the key drivers in the dairy industry over the last, say, 5 years. And you know, the technology goes back a lot further than that. So what we've done over the last couple of years is we've taken that core technology and the algorithms and the sensitivity of those algorithms, and we've applied it into dogs. So this is really what we're showcasing at CES, and we're really excited about this.
There probably is a pretty interesting commercial feature of doing that. I imagine monitoring the temperature, behavior, and what's going on with the cow is probably important to their lactation and milk abilities, and maybe if they're sick or if they have an infection. I mean, I created a website years ago called Hackable Human because I was at South by Southwest and started seeing these guys that were, you know, adding, like I say, NFID chips to their thing. They have it set up where they can walk into their homes. Just, you know, they just walk in and the lock opens. There's lots of proximity Bluetooth stuff now and NFID that can do that. So the sky's probably the limit for the technology of where you can go beyond pet for this.
Yeah, so on the farming side, with where the technology came from, then it gives you benefits such as, you know, efficiency of farming and making sure that you know, a sick cow is not a productive cow. But beyond that, far more importantly, it's about the well-being of the cow and the herd. So individually, to be able to have an early indicator of any sickness within that herd allows you to treat that one cow rather than putting antibiotics into the whole herd of cows. So for actually the sustainability and ethical farming, it's actually a critical tool. And what you see is more and more with animal monitoring is this is a tool for basically modern, ethical, sustainable, traceable farming. And
awesome. So I'm looking at your guys' website, surepetcare.com, and you guys got a whole mess of stuff here. You got really cool doors. People can insert these, I guess, into walls, into doors that go in and out of their house, areas that they want to maybe cut off, like a mud room for their animal to come in so they can get out of the weather. And then you've got coming soon a microchip pet feeder connect. Is that going to be at CES?
Yep, we'll be showing that at CES, and that allows you to selectively feed one pet over the other, but also every time a pet feeds from that, you can identify through the connected app when they're feeding, the frequency of feeding, and also how much they're feeding on each feed. So ultimately, when you're looking to track feeding patterns, either for, say, calorific intake, or it's actually just monitoring the health and well-being of a pet. And this is that.
I'm looking over your website. This is really brilliant. You guys have a feeder connect, which is a new thing coming out. We'll see at CS. You guys have a feeder, and it's kind of like I'm not sure how to describe this to our folks on iTunes and Google Play that are listening on audio in their car. This is it's kind of it looks kind of like a half cup box. And they're allowed to stick their face into it, and at that point they can get into like a sort of bowl or tray of food. And I imagine that gives them entry to the area so they can eat that based upon their microchip. And imagine you set times through the app as to when they can access it.
So it's more a free feeder. So this is very focused on cats, and cats tend to graze feed. So they're feeding multiple times in small amounts throughout the day. And this allows them to do that instinctive feeding. If they want to do it all in one go, then they can do that. But actually more pets or more cats tend to feed between 10 and 15 times a day. So actually they can go up to the feeder anytime, they can feed, and then it will monitor the amount that they've eaten each time. And then when the lid closes, it's actually a seal on the bowl that's actually under the lid. So when you've got food that could dry out, particularly in hot weather, then actually it's going to keep the food fresher for longer as well. So it's kind of multiple things that it does, but it's definitely a free feeder, so you're not trying to actively restrict access.
So this is pretty cool. It's compatible with all common microchips. It's compatible with the SureFlap RFID collar tag. It's got a microchip or collar tag controlled access. So if your dog is a microchip, they can use your collar tags. This thing will service up to 32 pets.
Yeah. You can learn in up to 32 pets. Generally, for the feeder, people learn in one. For the pet doors, people would learn in every pet that they've got in the house. And get up. So
there you go. For the crazy pet lady and you.
Yeah. We've had some quite high numbers there somewhere, but
years ago in our mortgage company, we did mortgages, and we had this recurring customer. It was a good customer, and a funny story. She actually her and her husband were married and have been married for years, but they lived apart. The main reason they lived apart was because she really loved cats. And when my appraiser would go to her home, she's like, when I look down in the basement, the floor moves. And it kind of is freaky looking because you're like, why is the floor moving? And it was all the cats that she was taking care of. So, 32 cats.
That's your horror story again, isn't it?
Yeah, there might have been some issue there, but our appraiser always said that the house was still in good condition and that, there wasn't sort of an out of control thing. So I don't know how she did it, but we always kind of giggle a little bit that her and her husband lived in separate homes because of it. But hey, if you love animals and pets, as long as you're, being a good steward and custodian, there you go. Stop pets from stealing each other's foods. That's important. I've had that happen. In fact, it happens to me a lot when I distribute treats to my dogs. You have the little one that tends to be able to be more agile and jump up there and take them. Monitor your pet's feeding habits. keep flies off your food and lock in moisture. That's a really good technology point, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, I think once you have food that's open to the elements, particularly for cats, where it's you're graze feeding and it's out throughout the day, then whether it's insects or flies or even just drying out, and then once it dries out and oxidizes and goes rancid, and then I think so many people are used to cats. You put food down for cats, they might have a little bit, and then they'll just an awful lot of it will go to spoil. If it goes to spoil,
And this is a bigger deal than probably most people do. I used to have my dogs outside when I lived in Utah when I would leave for work, and so they had a pen for outside. They could come into the garage area if they needed to. One winter, and they're snow dogs, they're huskies. So what I had was my neighbor had put down snail bait, had put down snail poison to kill the snails in his yard. One of the snails ate the snail bait, came over to my dog's dog food, and died in the dog food. And I remember going out and clearing the snow that day off of the dog food and seeing a snail in there. I didn't really think about it because it was outside. I'm like, I don't think they're going to eat a snail. I just really didn't think about it. Went to work that day, came home, and both my dogs are convulsing like a seizure state, and they're standing and convulsing. And I'm freaking out. I call the veterinarian. They go, your dogs have got snail bait or some sort of other poison. You need to bring them in as soon as possible. So we raced them in. They gave them all the shots, got their heart rates calmed down. But it literally can kill them. Their hearts will explode because they're just jacked up on like all this snail bait. And it was very scary for 24 hours, 48 hours. In fact, we were wondering what sort of long-term damage happened. And basically what happened was the snail got the snail poison from our neighbors and came and got in the food, and the dogs consumed it, and voila, bada boom, there you go.
Were the dogs fully recovered?
They fully recovered as far as I know. Years later we had cancer and the one had seizures, but it was like 5 or 6 years later. So I don't know if there was damage caused from those things, but it was scary. Where I used to live in Utah, we even had a problem with raccoons coming into the pen and eating the dog's food. I would open the door to go out and you'd see 6 raccoon babies just shoot up the fences. So there was a worry about rabies, of course, with them. And then, of course, them attacking our animals because they would smell the food. They come for the food and they'd either fight them for the food or attack them for food. I've had bugs in my food, even in the house. I mean, the pet door that I have is, like I said, it's a cheap, flappy one. And I've had all sorts of, of course, creepy, crawly spiders. I'm sure a lot of people don't like that. I've had all sorts of different bugs and stuff, and you'll find them in the food. They come in from the food. They can smell it, and they come for it. And then your dogs are either consuming that or whatever, and it's just crazy. So I really like this idea where it's covering the food, protecting it, keeping the flies off it, of course, as well. And, of course, dogs, they want to eat fresh food, too. They don't want to eat crap food that's, all dried out and nasty.
Yeah. So we anticipate we'll be doing some feeders for dogs as well. And I think where the power of all of this comes from with the product range is not only sort of solving these individual problems we're talking about, but when you think of these as part of an ecosystem of products that are monitoring your pet. So whether it's levels of activity, whether it's levels of shaking, barking, scratching, which our activity monitor can pick up, or whether it's the temperature of the dog through the microchip, or how much they're eating, how much they're drinking. So all of this is data. It's, we hear big data being sort of bandied around as a buzzword all the time, but it's data, and through this data, then you actually have a really rich data set that can tell you an awful lot about your pet. So monitoring this through the lifetime of the pet is actually going to help you maintain their health and well-being, whether that's as simple as their physical health, or actually it's their levels of engagement and mental sort of well-being as well. Then we see that data and monitoring is actually key to the future of proactive pet care. And this is where the journey of the company has come, to now, from initially one product to multiple products solving problems to connectivity to really being focused on gathering, monitoring data on a pet, and then through the quality of the algorithms that you can put on those, combined with the veterinary input. Actually, it's an incredibly powerful tool for improving the lives of pets in general.
And that's awesome. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do. We know that these pets live on average maybe 10 to 15 years at best. If you're lucky, keep your fingers crossed. And certainly they get into just about everything and anything. And of course, they're outside in the elements. All sorts of scary stuff can happen. I remember years ago, I had a puppy who found a spider. And they tend to play with spiders with their mouth and bite them and chew them and go, what is this? And because they interpret everything through their mouth. And she bit into some poisonous spider, and she came into me and she was passing out beside me. And I couldn't keep her awake. And I was like, holy crap. And I realized she'd probably been bitten by something, but I couldn't find where she'd been bitten. She'd been bitten up in the gum line. And this is probably a place where maybe the temperature sort of gauge in her microchip would have been important, and it got alerted to you by your app. So that's really cool. Anything more we need to know about your company, what you guys are doing at CES?
So I guess our focus at CES is really showing our Animo activity monitor. This is one of the first times we're showing this in public, and this is the repurposing of this established technology from the livestock industry. And really what it's bringing is a new level of accuracy and detail to activity monitoring for pets. So whether it's just purely activity you're looking at, but also we're looking at things like shaking, barking, scratching, which can tell you a huge amount about the health and well-being of a pet, or sleep and sleep quality. So really we're showcasing this product and this technology, and we're sort of just very optimistic about what this can do with the industry in general.
The CES show, the future. So this is going to be pretty cool. Those of you going to CES, be sure to check them out. They're going to be the Sands Convention Center, booth 42367, the Sure Pet Care booth, if you want to Google it. Make sure you download the CES app. I think Gary Shapiro will want me to plug that. So you want to use the app. You can schedule, you can find stuff like the pet care booth, and you can schedule yourself. You know where it's at. You can look at maps and find stuff. That's really an important thing with the I'd recommend anybody going to CES is use the map system, because there's several different buildings, several different hotels. They pretty much come here and they take over a whole city, and it's just amazing. And even one of the things you have to be careful too, like in South Hall, there's 2 levels. So you can sometimes be walking around thinking, well, I'm right in front of it. And you're like, oh, it's above me or below me. So watch out for that. But you definitely want to get the CES app so you can take and do that as well. Be sure to check out their website, of course. If you're a pet owner and everything else, you can go to their website at surepetcare.com. And I got to tell you, I'm really impressed with the products here. I love the feeder ability and the monitoring ability of my pets. Hopefully in the future, I'll be able to do all sorts of things. If you could make something that lets me know my dog's tearing apart something I own, I'm out of the house, that would be great. Which is hard because half the time they're chewing on like bones and chew toys that I give them when I am home. But I don't know. Somehow I just microchip everything in the house that I don't want them to chew on. Like one of my friends has got a husky, and her dog loves to take her shoes out in the backyard and chew them up. So maybe you could I don't know, create some sort of AI system in the far distant future where robotically it's like, that's the shoe, do not allow that outside, make that stay in here, and alert the owner the shoe is trying to go outside. Like I say, my puppy who's actually bringing me toys to play with her right now, if I leave right now, we're going through this phase where if I leave, she takes a box or something. Usually it's nothing expensive, but she gets a box or whatever, and she chews it up and she puts it right at the top of the stairs, because she wants me to know that this is my punishment for leaving the house for 15 minutes to go to the store or whatever. So if you figure out an innovative product for that in the future, way to monitor that, like your dog's really into something and it's in an area that it shouldn't be in, and And that's the other thing she'll do. She'll go into areas. So anyway, we'll look forward to seeing you guys at CS. We'll look forward to reviewing this on the chrisvossshow.com. So be sure to go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification so you see all the different videos we'll be doing. Probably do a live shot or a video interview while we're there, and we'll kind of walk through some of the products. How does that sound?
That sounds fantastic. I look forward to it.
Sounds fantastic. And so I appreciate our audience for tuning in. Be sure to go and refer your friends to go to iTunes, Google Play, go to Spotify, and also iHeartRadio. We're distributed. And of course, you can get us on any podcasting app in the world. You're going to be seeing daily, weekday podcasts from us, and we'll probably just be doing a crazy amount of media during, of course, the CS show. Be sure to follow us over there. And all my social channels, you'll be seeing live videos and all the different, it's just a media frenzy. In fact, usually after 2 to 3 weeks, a month after CS, we're like still just publishing stuff. Like, here's another thing we saw at CS, and it's just crazy. It's a great show, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, thanks to Nick. Appreciate you for coming by, Nick, and tell us about your company and your story. Great entrepreneurial journey. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks, Chris. I enjoyed it.
All right. And my audience, we'll see you guys next time.